Homeschool is a big undertaking. Then add in traveling full-time, and it can seem completely daunting. We've been homeschooling for over 13 years, and we've been traveling for almost 8. I'm telling you, it's doable, and you and your kids can actually have fun with it. We're going to give you 3 tips to help you tackle this topic and school on the road.
So here are the 3 tips. Number 1, it doesn't have to revolve only around you. There are tons of resources that exist out there for you, and we're going to share those with you. Number 2, we have learned to school year-round. That gives us tons of flexibility. Number 3, get rid of traditional school mindset. This environment is so awesome and so rewarding. Your kids and you will absolutely love it.
Let's go back to tip 1. It does not have to be just you as the parent teacher. When our kids were 3 and 5 and I started homeschooling them, I had no idea what I was doing. And thankfully, I had a lot of women pouring into me who had been doing this for 3, 5, even 10 years.
Yeah.
And that just gave me all the confidence I needed. So today, let's talk about these things and let us pay this back. And thank you to all those ladies who helped me all those years ago. So virtual school is a super easy option if you are going to go travel for a long period of time or, make the move to be a full-time traveler. You can use the curriculum that your kids are already used to. That is a huge pro. You're literally just plopping them out of the classroom into the RV and off you go. But there are some downsides.
Well, and I think one of the most important things that you understand is if you do that, you are still tied to the traditional school model, okay? So they still have the same expectations.
The same time commitment and calendar cycle too.
Correct. And I think that one of the gifts of homeschooling is you get to meet your kids where they are. And so if the only way you can do this and the only way you can get started is by using the virtual school, we're from Florida, and Florida has wonderful virtual schools. We actually use some of their classes in our curriculum. If that's the only way you can do it, go and do it. But don't be so closed-minded to think that that's the only way to do it, because we've met a lot of people on the road who think that that's the only way.
Right, and it's not.
And it really is still, you're still very handcuffed to their schedules, which is the whole idea of this lifestyle.
Yes. So, however, there are a lot of people that we still work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So if your jobs don't allow you to have any kind of hands-on with your kids for schooling, this could be a good option, okay? So, and we're going to go down in order of like most hands-off to least hands-off. So the next step would be some online classes. Maybe there are some virtual school classes or even online classes outside of your homeschool virtual school classes that you would like to use. We are actually doing that now. A couple years ago, I just couldn't muster up the time, effort, energy to do Spanish with the kids. I have a French and a finance degree, and as badly as I wanted to learn another language, I just couldn't do it. I just didn't have the time to really sit down and do that well with them. And so for us, like Jason said, we have the ability to use Florida Virtual School, and we do. I used it for keyboarding, which was great, because that's an online course anyhow. They've taken a guitar lesson online for a semester, and then now they're both into their second year of Spanish.
And let's not forget driver's ed.
Oh.
Which is still like beyond me that kids are doing driver's ed.
It's the textbook side.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Willis did have to take the driving test to get his permit, but so that's an example where we're using some online classes, and it's great because it teaches the kids how to get on that computer, how to be accountable to somebody else. There's accountability for them to hand in a certain amount of assignments each week, and if not, the teacher's going to call them, text them, email them, and me too. There's a lot of other pros to it than just I don't have to manage that workload.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been awesome. Then we have
I want to chase something around for a second.
Okay, what do you want to do?
Because I love chasing stuff around. So the pro tip, make sure if you're considering homeschooling on any single path, please go to your state, I guess you'd call it state, homeschool conference. They usually have them once a year, and tons of curriculum there, tons of everything. I mean, it was just a great experience for us.
It was. And speaking of that, One of the other ways that you can school is just using good old textbooks and library books. And when we went to the homeschool conference 15 years ago for the first time, I did have a mom there. I didn't know her that well, but my parents and her parents knew each other really well. And she was my resource. She was my bat phone the entire time. And she pointed me in a direction I would have never gone before, because they have a trade show at these homeschool conferences, and then they also have workshops. So I went into the trade show, I looked around, I came back, and she said, "What did you like?" And I told her the couple curriculums I liked, and she said, "That's exactly what I was drawn to when I started, because they're more like a traditional public school curriculum." And she said, "I'm going to give you 2 or 3 others to go check out on the next break." And then I did, and it opened my eyes to a whole nother set of textbooks, right?
Well, I think that was just it. There was so many different things there, and this is where it's really important that you get to understand who your kids are, so you can understand their learning styles, because there's something that will meet all of them.
There are, and there are things that you're not going to expect, and so just be open-minded. But you can use traditional textbooks, you can buy curriculums from A to Z, or you can go to the library. There's a ton of free resources there, because where we're from, we don't get money from our county to put towards homeschooling. We pay taxes that go towards the local schools, but because we homeschool, we don't get a credit for that. Now, I think in the last year or two, they've started doing something in our local area.
The state did.
Okay, the state of Florida has. But for the most part of our schooling thus far, we might spend a couple $1,000s a year sometimes on curriculum, but we've been very pleased with it. The last thing that people do is they just completely unschool. That's the term.
Or world school.
There's all kinds of terms for it. I don't know what the current thing is, but that is where you're not using any kind of traditional methods. You're just using what's in front of you. If you go to the restaurant, you teach your kids how to do math by adding up the bill and tipping. Same thing at the grocery store. When you're traveling, you are in so many different locations. I mean, we're in Colorado right now. It's about 60, 65 degrees out. It's amazing. But the landscape is completely different than anything in Florida. And so we could go out and talk about science and nature, the history of this state versus Florida, the history of the West versus the history of Florida. I mean, you can school about anything that interests you at any time, anywhere you are. And it's not pick one. You don't have to go virtual. You don't have to unschool. You don't have to curriculum. You don't have to library book it. You can do whatever makes sense for you, and it will change over time. But start where you are and with what's most comfortable for you, and then just let the process unfold.
Well, and I mean, we have evolved immensely.
Yeah.
Very this is the boundary that we're going to be in to now. We have some curriculum, we have some virtual school, and I would venture to say we have some unschooling from the standpoint of the video that you're watching. This stuff is produced by our kids. They've taught themselves how to do this.
Yeah. And we've used resources and people that we know around us to help. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, so let's not get too ahead on that subject.
All right.
Let's go to tip 2 though.
All right.
Okay. School all year round. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, to those moms that loved on me 13, 14, 15 years ago. We lived in Florida when we started. We weren't traveling full time yet. And they said, "Linda, school year round. And in the fall and the winter, when it is nice and the kids can go to the park and not burn their little legs on the slides, take them. And then in the summer, when it's 100 degrees and you can't stand to be outside, let alone put them on those little metal slides, do a little bit of school." And they just put it to me so simply. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I want to say to you is, wherever you are, whatever your weather, whatever your climate is, when you're traveling, just let school be a part of your life. Don't try to hurry up and get it done between August and March. Now, if you want to do that, or I guess August and April or May would be appropriate. But if you want to do it, it's fine. You have that choice. But for us, We do it all year round. We go heavier during the traditional school year because in the summertime, we like to move around more. And the kids do have a little bit of school that they're finishing up, but it makes our load lighter so we can travel more frequently.
Based on where we are, based on the activities that we're doing, we're not always on vacation, but if we want to take a vacation day or a vacation weekend or whatever, then we take advantage of that. Our kids are very self-motivated and self-disciplined when it comes to school.
And another cool thing I want to share with you, this is something that we did. We've spent a couple winters in Breckenridge, Colorado. So this family of 4 from Florida who's got their flip-flops on right now, even though it's 60, and my toes are maybe a little cold, but we can't help it. We got to wear those flip-flops. But you guys, we spent a couple years in Breckenridge. And while we were there, our kids got to do these kids local lesson ski passes. And what that meant was most weeks they could go up to 4 days a week in this small group lesson. They'll ski you off the mountain. But here's the thing, some of those classes were Thursdays and Fridays, and we let them go.
Absolutely.
Right? And then on Saturday, they would make up 1 day of school. So we just turned it into a 4-day school week instead of a 5. And then we caught up in the summer when we weren't there. So that is like the best example I think we can give of why, if you just embrace that school is part of your life and then you make it work for you, it's a beautiful thing.
And we didn't always do that, just so you know. That was not always something that we started with.
I'm a financial analyst by training.
I could care less about anything that Linda said about school and being there with the professors and all that.
But order and deadlines and, this is the way it is. That's how my brain works. So I really had to let go of it.
You also had to retrain yourself from what you knew the education system to be.
That's what I'm saying. Right? Yeah, I'm such a rule follower.
Had to unwrap that and realize, because I think every parent's one of their fears when they start down this homeschool path is that they're going to screw their kids up. And you're just not.
No.
You're absolutely not going to screw your kids up. Now, if you lock them in the basement and never let them out for 2 years, you're going to screw them up, okay?
Don't do that.
But if you're out and about and you're enjoying your relationship with them and spending time with them, you guys, we're teaching Jason and Sarah just crazy things about life and about business and about just so many amazing things that they would never, ever, ever get at the school system.
Yeah, and that's a great transition, Jason, into tip 3, which is...
Well, I did it.
I'm sure. But tip 3 is just to just undo that traditional mindset. I am a public school kid, so are you. And I mean, the first couple years, when you went to school, but the first couple years of homeschooling our kids, I turned that extra bedroom into a classroom, right? I went to the dollar store and I had all the charts and the ABC banners, and because it's what I thought I was supposed to do.
And it's okay if you do that, because some people do that.
Totally.
This isn't a right or wrong. This is just more to encourage you about making it yours. And I think that is, at the end of the day, we have been instilled in our minds, in our beings, that this is how you do school. And when they're 3rd grade, they should be here, and at 4th grade, they should be here, 5th, and so on and so forth. And that's just not the case.
No, and what you need to know is your children are wonderfully and perfectly made. They are exactly who they are supposed to be, and so embrace that. Whatever their strength is, just grow that. Whatever their weaknesses and challenges are, help them with it. But you know what? It may always be a weakness or a challenge for them. And so then you maybe just help them manage it. But play on those strengths. Play on who God made them to be just innately, and let them flourish. And so that mindset, letting go of that traditional mindset, means you might have to change your curriculum, right? It might not work. When Willis was learning to read, I mean, the directions said, X number of pages a day, and it was horrible, you guys. It was horrible.
It took him 1 year to learn the book, Learning to Read.
No, we did 2. It took us 2 years to do the first year, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I've messed my kids up, and I didn't. It took us 2 years, and we did 2 pages a day instead of 3 to 5 pages a day. And you know what? I can't get him to put a book down now. And he actually asked me today, he said, Mom, I really like spelling. spelling. He goes, it's like a puzzle with letters. He goes, is there any advanced spelling courses I can take? This is somebody who took 2 years to do the first year of reading at 5 years old and now loves to read and wants to.
And Sarah's the same way. Sarah's like, I read that whole book. It was 18 chapters. I read it in 2 days.
Yeah.
So, we're having to put boundaries around their books, which is crazy, right?
Right. You can't read that much in the morning. You have to do your school first before you can read. So you guys just be aware of that. Lean into who your kids are and develop your curriculum around it. Don't be afraid to make changes. Don't be afraid to make right turns.
The other thing that you have to understand about the school systems is the school system does not have the resources that every family needs to find their kids' God-given gifts and talents. The school systems have built a square box, okay? And understandably so. They have so many kids in each classroom and they're responsible for mass education.
And I want to be really clear, like there's no dig on the public school or private school, so I hope nobody would...
This is to encourage you if you're thinking about homeschooling.
That's right.
Because people reach out to us all the time about this topic.
We get asked in person and in social media all the time, and so part of what we want to do with our channel is answer the questions that you all have, because we do have a lot of experience and we've come a long way.
Yeah, well, and we don't always get it right either.
Oh no, but we have learned a lot of things in a lot of years, and we want to pay it back.
That's right. So if you know, going back to the school system as a square, all right, and in that square are where all kids are supposed to fit. Well, God didn't create all kids to be squares. Some of them are triangles, and some of them are rectangles, and some of them are octagons, and some of them are circles. But the school system only has the resources to deal with squares. So if your child is a really good square, then they're gifted. But if they're a circle or a triangle or something else, now they have labels for everything. And just because your son or daughter doesn't learn in a square way doesn't mean that there's something the matter with them. And I think you have to really understand that, because it's very easy to think, oh, they're not reading at grade level, or they're not doing enough math, and I got to give them to summer school, and I got to hold them back. And I know today there's so much social pressure, and it's social pressure that, you know, Johnny is a better reader than my Mary, and, you know, I need to get Mary to read. Da, da, da. Well, what is Mary gifted at? Because I promise she's gifted at something. And if we can just slow down long enough and give them that space, because I'll tell you right now, if our kids went to public school, Jason would fit in that square perfectly. Sarah's like water. She doesn't even necessarily have a shape, okay? She made her own shapes depending on the day. And I love both of their minds and how they think and how they analyze things. And
together, I mean, they are a fierce team. I mean, together incredible. They are unstoppable.
And so don't be so quick to judge your child based on the school system square.
And the last thing I want to say here is, don't undervalue what they're learning from you.
That's right.
Because in this lifestyle, you spend a lot more time together. My kids hear almost every work call I'm on all day long. I like to work from the motorhome. So I wake up, I get my day started. When they get up, they just kind of blend into the living room and the kitchen area, and they hear most of my work calls. And they ask me about most of my work calls. And they challenge me, and they want to, like, well, what did they say when you said that? You know, and were they surprised to have that conversation? Were they happy on the other end? And Jason leaves most days, but when we're driving on a travel day, or if they go to lunch with him, or sometimes they'll go on an appointment with you, you know, they hear you negotiate, right? Because you're in real estate, so they might hear you negotiate the sale or purchase of a home. They might hear you negotiate a deal that we're doing personally. They might just hear you talking to some of our other business friends. Right. And, you know, that person is on the speakerphone in the truck. So do not underestimate what your kids are picking up from you. Cooking, cleaning, the maintenance that you're doing, because stuff breaks that you don't even know how to pronounce. But there are so many learning opportunities, and your kids just they are more well-rounded than you ever planned on them being, just because you're together.
Guys, I hope this has brought value. We have certainly enjoyed spending this time with you, and we just want to encourage you. The whole nature of this video was to encourage you. Whether you're thinking about going on an extended trip, whether you're thinking about traveling full-time, or you just found this video and you're thinking about homeschooling in your neighborhood, please, please, please consider it, and don't hesitate to reach out to us as a resource.
You can do it, and you can have a whole lot of fun at it too. Be sure and like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next adventure.